There's a guy who lives in a city not too different from yours. A few years ago, he bought a luxury sports car. Not a Ferrari, not a Lamborghini, but the kind of car that makes people stop and look when it rolls into a parking lot. The kind of car people photograph at traffic lights. The kind of car that makes strangers assume you've made it. And that assumption starts changing things faster than most people realize. Because the moment he started driving it, people treated him differently. Friends joked less about his financial situation. Strangers gave more respect in conversations. Even small interactions felt upgraded. The cashier, the security guard, the guy at the gas station, everyone reacted slightly differently. Not dramatically, just enough to notice. And that's where the illusion begins. Because when the world starts responding to you as if you've made it, you slowly start believing it yourself, even if nothing inside your bank account has changed. At first, the car felt like a reward, something earned, something deserved. He would wake up in the morning, grab the keys, and feel a small sense of satisfaction just walking outside. The sound of the engine became part of his identity. Even simple drives felt meaningful. He didn't just go to work anymore. He arrived at work. But what he didn't realize was that emotional excitement like that has an expiration date. And it expires much faster than the financial commitment. Because within a few months, something shifted. The reactions from people started fading. The compliments slowed down. The attention became normal. The car stopped feeling like a statement and started feeling like transportation again. But there was one thing that didn't normalize: the payment. Every month, same date, same amount, same pressure. No emotional excitement attached to it anymore. Just obligation. Now, here's where the real trap quietly begins. Because most people assume the cost of a car is what they signed for. But that's only the surface layer. The real cost starts showing up in places nobody calculates at the dealership. Not in the excitement phase, but in the maintenance phase of life, the phase where reality becomes consistent again. The first thing he noticed was his budget tightening. Not in a dramatic way, more like small adjustments. He stopped going out as often. He started thinking twice before ordering certain things. He became more conscious of small expenses. At first, it didn't seem connected to the car. But it was. Because when a large fixed payment enters your life, everything else has to adjust around it, whether you notice it or not. Then came something more subtle. Stress. Not loud stress. Quiet stress. The kind that doesn't announce itself, but sits in the background of decisions. For example, when an opportunity came up, something risky, something uncertain, he hesitated. Not because he lacked ambition, but because he already had a financial anchor weighing his monthly life down. That car payment became a silent filter on every decision. Can I afford to take this risk? What if something goes wrong this month? What if income drops? And slowly, without realizing it, his financial flexibility started shrinking. This is the part nobody talks about when they sell luxury. They sell the feeling of freedom. But what they often create is the opposite structure, a system of obligation disguised as success. Because freedom is not what you drive. Freedom is what you don't owe. Now let's step back for a second and look at what actually happened. Nothing magical, nothing extreme, just a sequence of normal decisions. A promotion, a desire to upgrade life, a visit to a dealership, a monthly payment that felt manageable. That's it. No bad intentions, no reckless behavior, just normal human psychology. And that's exactly why this trap is so effective. Because it doesn't look like a trap at all. It looks like progress. And progress is something people rarely question. If it feels like you're moving forward in life, your brain tends to stop asking deeper questions. But not all forward movement is upward movement. Sometimes you are simply moving sideways, with higher obligations attached. Let's talk about something even more important: depreciation. Because while the owner was enjoying the emotional benefits of the car, something else was happening silently in the background. The value was dropping, month after month, year after year. And the strange part is that depreciation doesn't feel real, because you don't see it happening in your daily life. The car still looks the same. It still drives the same. It still feels the same. But its financial reality is constantly shrinking. And in many cases, faster than the loan itself, which creates a second hidden problem. Negative equity, meaning you owe more than the car is actually worth. And that's where people start getting stuck, not because they made a bad decision once, but because they made a normal decision that compounds in the wrong direction. Now here's something most people miss completely. A car payment doesn't just take money. It takes options. And options are one of the most underrated forms of wealth. Because options give you flexibility. If an opportunity appears, you can take it. If life changes, you can adjust. If things get difficult, you can adapt. But when your income is tied to multiple fixed obligations, your options shrink. And when options shrink, stress increases, even if income stays the same. Think about it like this. Two people earn the same amount of money. One has minimal fixed expenses. The other has large fixed obligations. On paper, they look equal. But in real life, they are not. Because one person can make decisions freely. The other has to calculate survival first. And survival-based thinking is one of the biggest barriers to wealth building. Now let's bring this back to the car. Because the car itself is not the villain. It never was. The car is just the entry point. The real issue is what it represents in modern consumer culture. Identity, status, validation. People don't just buy vehicles anymore. They buy signals. Signals to friends. Signals to strangers. Signals to themselves. And those signals are expensive because they are not based on necessity. They are based on perception. And perception is a moving target. Because once you step into that world, there is always something newer, something better, something slightly more impressive. And the moment you start chasing perception, you enter a cycle that doesn't end. Only upgrades, only payments, only comparison. But here's the irony. The people most impressed by expensive cars are rarely the people you actually need approval from. Most people forget quickly. Most attention is temporary. Most admiration fades faster than the payment schedule. Which means people are often exchanging long-term financial freedom for extremely short-lived social validation. Now imagine two versions of this same person. In the first version, he continues upgrading every few years. New car, new payment, new excitement, but also new obligations, and no real accumulation, just rotation. In the second version, he stops upgrading. He chooses stability. He drives something reliable. He ignores the pressure. He lets time work in his favor instead of against him. At first, the difference is invisible, but after 5 years, it becomes noticeable. After 10 years, it becomes obvious. And after 15 years, it becomes life-changing. One person has a collection of cars and payments. The other has a collection of freedom and options. Because at the end of the day, the car payment trap is not really about cars. It's about trade-offs most people never calculate. You trade flexibility for comfort. You trade future freedom for present identity. You trade compounding for consumption. And the most dangerous part is that none of it feels extreme while it's happening. It feels normal, which is exactly why so many people stay inside it for years without realizing it. And maybe that's the real lesson. Not that expensive cars are bad, but that invisible costs are often more important than visible rewards. Because what looks like success from the outside can sometimes be the beginning of financial restriction on the inside. And what looks simple from the outside can sometimes be the foundation of long-term freedom. The car is never just a car. It's a decision that continues to echo long after the excitement fades. And the question most people never ask is not, "Can I afford the payment?" But rather, "What kind of life is this payment building for me over time?" Because that answer is usually very different from what the showroom made it feel like.